A couple of weeks ago, the now terrorist group Palestine Action rode into Brize Norton on their electric scooters and damaged two RAF aeroplanes, causing millions of pounds in damage. Since then, of course, the British military, or rather the Air Force, has made attempts to strengthen the security of its air bases around the country. It's a case of fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
Case, you know. So a journalist decided to have a look around, and it turns out that quite a few air bases are under-secured. Even those that house the new nuclear-capable F-35 fighter jets. They are shielded from City Street by a 5-foot barbed wire fence and a sign. Now, signs for English people, you know, if it says it on a sign, then you must obey. And the majority of English people,
Yeah.
being polite, they do. Right? But if you're a terrorist, of course, that's normally like a sign of please come in.
Well, yeah. However terrorism works, yes. I'm not a terrorist. I don't know how they think.
Well,
Yeah.
apparently the RAF doesn't either. So anyway.
That's interesting, yeah.
There are no lookouts or security guards doing the rounds. And these jets, these F-35 fighter jets, they cost between £8 million for a standard, going up to £110 million for the deluxe version.
Oh, right, okay.
Easy picking for the ne'er-do-well. And on top of the fact that the British Prime Minister is expecting Russian bombs to be dropping anytime soon. Right. Even the public airport here near in Recife has more security with brick walls and layers of fencing. But then the airport is home to a unit of the FAB, not to be mistaken with Thunderbirds.
Yes.
FAB is the Força Aérea Brasileira, which is in English, is the Brazilian Air Force.
Yeah.
And the Sindacta Trace, which is more for assistance and offensive warfare. But even so, the Sindacta Trace is o Centro Integrado de Defesa Aérea de Controle de Tráfego Aéreo 3. In English, it means it's the Integrated Centre of Aerial Defence and Control of Aerial Traffic 3.
Yeah.
So, will the RAF be caught with its trousers down a second time? Well, that depends on the RAF, really. There you are.
Right. I remember years ago, because I actually applied to go into them. They didn't, well, I didn't go in for one reason or another, but they used to have the Ministry of Defence Police, MOD Police. And I grew up in a military town. Wasn't associated with the military, I just grew up in a place that had military presence. And they were everywhere. And you couldn't, And they were, if you like, the Ministry of Defence's own internal police. And I don't know how they operated, but the powers of arrest, if you happen to be on a base somewhere, they apprehended you. They didn't mess about, depending what you were doing. Yeah. Got spoken to once for being on the wrong side in front of somewhere, and they just said, "Boy, move on a bit. Yeah, you're not any threat. Just move on." It wasn't any. I mean, yeah, they were quite efficient. They were normally ex-military people themselves. A lot of them were, so they left the military and went into it, so they knew, and they'd already had their their clearances, as it were, and they basically went in and left the military to rejoin the military again. I don't know if they still exist. I don't believe they do. I think a lot of it's private security now, contract security, or might even be the main plots doing it. I don't know. But so it was all pretty secure. I mean, this was in the time of the 1970s and 80s, when obviously there was a major terrorist threat from our friends across the Irish Sea. Who were operating on the mainland. Again, but they had intelligence as well. literally had intelligence. They knew everything going on. That's not to say there weren't some attempts, but probably it would be very difficult to attack a military installation, yeah, from close quarters. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there was a horrific thing where they actually blew in public areas, used to attack the public in the military in public areas, which was even horrific. I think it lost the RA a lot of support. Um, I'm, yeah, I mean, you can have a cynical view and everything else. I mean, basically, these, I'm not being funny. These were not what I call high brand terrorists. Potential was there. These were a few hippies who didn't really have a clue about what they were doing. Who went in with some,
Which is exactly the point of this podcast, because
yeah,
if the hippies can get through
yeah,
on electric scooters
mm,
and do the damage that they did, imagine somebody a little bit more witty with the wits around them,
you mean with a
uh,
bit of, yeah, yeah, yeah,
a bit more nous,
yeah.
the damage that they could do stealthily.
Well, even more frightening, somebody that didn't care if they got out alive.
Well,
Yeah. Um, it's a, um, yeah, I mean, security is always going to be an issue. Um, I mean, security bases, I mean, I bet they wouldn't, I bet they wouldn't have got into an American base. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's ever managed that. Yeah. I'm not about, it's difficult to find out about Americans. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and you mentioned Brazil. Well, Brazil, yeah, they not only have the fencing, they also have personnel on the ground that even walking around the airports have something attached to halfway down their leg on their
yes.
thigh calf that says, I'm not going to mess about with you. Yeah. Yes, you know what I'm
So,
talking about. Yeah.
somebody called Tommy.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Out it would come. Um, yeah, I mean, they are trained. They're not here. They're not security services or not contractors. They are actually part of the federal authorities or federal police. Um, yeah, very, very helpful people, actually, if you're ever around an airport. If you need to know something, go and speak to one of them. Um, and you're in safe hands with them as well if you've got a problem. So, yeah, um, again, yes, I understand your concerns. If it happens again, that is very, very embarrassing to say the least. I mean, for it to happen once was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Or did they let them do it in order to achieve
Well,
something?
the arrests have been made,
Yeah,
uh, and then I first thought it might have been an inside job at Brize Norton,
yeah. I remember you saying Brize Norton. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But the arrests that were made, nobody's associated with the base, so
yeah,
they must have just waltzed in. I went to York some time ago, some
mm,
years ago,
yeah,
to find out the house I was born in,
yeah,
my very first address,
mm,
and they have army barracks,
yeah. Remember that.
or
Yeah,
rather army living quarters
yeah,
next to Fulford Army Base.
yes, yeah.
And I was able to walk in quite quite casually and take photos of the house
Mm.
and walk back out again.
Well, it
No
depends.
problem
I
whatsoever.
mean, depends how long ago. I mean, you may have been watched all the way. You don't know. I mean, the problem is people rely on CCTV and things like this. I mean, there used to be the patrols with the Land Rovers around military bases, and there still is in Brazil. You go to a military installation in Brazil. It doesn't matter if it's an air force, a naval, or a military. You stand there, and there's a guy with his gun in his crow's nest. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, I was
look
going
at
to say, because even if you go to the FAB
yeah,
living quarters,
yeah,
married quarters
yeah.
around here,
Mm.
they've got a sentinel on duty, and you have to sign in and sign out.
Oh yeah, yeah. My daughter, she went to a party in the big one in Recife a while ago. Well, a few years ago. Yeah, we went in and the security were told there was a party. We were given instructions what to say. Yeah, and had to sign, like you say, sign in, sign out. And in Brazil, we all have to carry our identity cards.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you people in the UK moaning about identity cards, we carry them routinely here, but there's limited information on them. Yeah, there's not the all singing, all dancing that appears that they want to put on the British one. Yeah, it's who I am. There's a chip on my one now. Um, but yeah, and I've actually found it quite useful. Yeah, somebody wants to know who I am. There you go. That's an official government document. Are you
Yeah.
going to argue with that? Yeah, that's very difficult to forge. And if you do, you're put in prison for a long time. So there's no mistake in it. Yeah. Um,
I find it odd that you get a country that's in the developing world
mm,
that has more security to look after their troops than than the UK.
well,
You, the UK has got a lot of catching up to do when it comes to securing the troops.
well, actually, when you see the Brazilian military, if if somebody breaks into one of their bases, I imagine it would be keeping them away from the personnel that would be the biggest problem. Because if they get hold of them, that guy ain't walking out in one piece. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. They don't forget that the Brazilian military doesn't do a lot. So if they ever get the opportunity to do something, they're going to grab it with both
So,
hands.
so
Yeah.
they've all got itchy fingers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they do have a bit of a problem with different regiments putting them together sometimes, you know. But yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, if you watch some videos of the Brazilian military, um, online, there are some. They've got a very, very definite march. They certainly don't have any rainbow insignia or carrying any
That was
rainbows.
ridiculous that I saw the other day with the British troops carrying the rainbow flag. That I mean, who's going to be which foreign army is going to be frightened of that?
Well, it wasn't so much that. I've got no problem with that. I mean, if you want gays, have a gay regiment. Okay, have a gay regiment. I'm not against it. So if somebody who's homosexual wants to serve, I'm not against it. Or have a gay ship or something else. Yeah, I'm going to talk quite broadly. But yeah, it's the size of the guy. And I thought, yeah, it's it wasn't even Dad's army. This guy was massive. And it was like,
Well,
yeah, I mean,
gays do come in different shapes and sizes, you
well, I'm
know.
not suggesting
To
there's
be fair,
anything wrong with him because he's gay. I don't really care. I mean, how he chooses, or where he chooses to put his weapon in his own time is up to him. Yeah, or has a weapon put into him. But it's a yeah. As I said, I've got no look. I will say this: if there's someone gay who wants to serve, maybe the way, because it's always about bullying and turning troops and all that. Maybe have a regiment of people that are gay and transsexual. If they're serving, if they're capable, do that. Yeah, I've got no objection to that. They should be able to do his job as good as anyone else. But yeah, obviously, it's a bit of a problem if you're going to start mixing. But I mean, that's for the MOD to sort out, not for me on the podcast.
well, I'm sure that when they get their increased spending, they'll sort that out.
Well, yeah, but as to getting back to the security, it was embarrassing. I could not believe it. And like I've said, some a sophisticated terrorist organization that has funding millions of dollars behind it getting in, yes, one thing. Just a few guys on e-bikes, e-cycles getting across there and spray painting or doing whatever they did. It is like that's embarrassing. Unless there was a fear to actually deal with them definitely, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.